All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Mary Rensel. I'm owner of Brain Fresh, and I have Dr. Moore here with us from She Is Money. So she is going to tell us her story. Why did you start She Is Money? Tell
Well, I'm so
us.
excited to be here with you
Thank
this
you.
morning. So She is Money is an online education program that I built, and it has courses, and eventually it will have a membership. And what
Cool.
we focus on is helping women, professional women mostly, gain the skills and the strategy that they need to really thrive, both at work and at home. And so the reason why I built She is Money is because when I'm a physician, and when I was going through med school, I was so excited to finally get into this specialty of my choice and get my first job and get married and live my life. And so I worked for many, many, many years. I went through med school, I went through residency, and I got all the, accolades that I needed to get. Went through 2 fellowships. I
Oh
have
my
3 board
gosh.
certifications.
Come on.
Yeah,
Wow.
so finally, I got my first job in California, and I can remember I was at the pool at the club like, couple weekends after I got there, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've
This is
totally made it." Like,
did
I was
it.
getting engaged, we were looking for a house, and, we had kids really shortly after then, and so it was like, "Huh, there's
Yeah.
nothing else that I need in my life."
Done. Right.
And
Check.
unfortunately for me, I actually was not happy, and I felt extremely overwhelmed. I had all these extra responsibilities that I had wished for on my life, but I didn't really realize how much they were going to take from my own personal time. And
Yeah.
I can remember when I was in residency, it was like I had my 600 square foot apartment. I had a couple of plants, and if
Right.
they died when I went away, it didn't matter. And
Right.
all of a sudden, I had all this stuff it was like everything was depending on me.
It's on you. Yeah.
And I felt extremely overwhelmed. I felt extremely underappreciated. And I didn't know what to do about that. I
Mhm.
just felt like, well, all I know how to do is just work harder in my job. And so I see that a lot with women who I work with now is
Mhm.
they just had their first baby. They are trying to make partner, or they just made partner, and they're working, even though like the year that they had their baby, they took off whatever, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 6 weeks. Even during that period of time, they usually worked harder and more than the men in their group. And it's just something that I think we feel like we need to prove something.
Mhm.
And so it really became my passion to try and help women, first of all, understand that your dream life and your achievements and your goals of where you want to go, they change with time. I mean,
Mhm.
everything evolves, and you're evolving. So why shouldn't your goals evolve? And
Mhm.
so when you reach that like final pivotal moment, like that's really not your final pivotal moment at
Mhm.
all.
Mhm.
And that's what I learned was that, oh my gosh, like all of a sudden I started working really hard to figure out how to succeed, outside of what I thought was my box. And then like all this amazing stuff happened, and
Y
I found out all these things that I didn't even know existed. I don't know about you,
That's
but
cool.
for me, I feel like the more you read and the more you interact with other people and just allow yourself to grow, the more you find things, simple things that make you think, why does nobody know about this? Or
Right.
am I the only one who know? Like, I'm a physician. How did I
Right.
not know that?
I love it.
So
Yeah.
that's really what
Yeah.
I strive to help people with is like, hey, like, did you know that your insulin levels do all this stuff that improves or lowers your performance?
You're
And
right. Yeah,
that's
I agree with you. I don't know that we talk about kind of optimizing our well, of course, I'm a neurologist, so I love talking brains, and I know as a pathologist, you love talking all organs, but I know you appreciate the brain, and, I agree with you. I think that, I think with our medical training, we think, "Okay, we're gonna hit a certain place, and then we're cooked, we're done, like, that's it." But we know the brain is not a brick, it can keep growing, and it wants to grow. It's really its optimal state, and, I think like there's little dials that we can change every day to make it more optimal to increase our performance. So what do you do to get ready to help others? Because I think we have to keep ourselves strong and ready to be there for others, right? But like you said, like we have a lot of responsibilities. And as a coach or a helper or a business owner, course director, and you probably have so many hats that you change regularly. How do you keep yourself? Like, what are two or three things that you do regularly so you can make sure you're there for others?
So when I was in college and before I was a varsity athlete, I swam for Ohio
Oh,
State.
okay. Yeah.
So I had sort of a great base of what I needed to do in order to perform well on ball.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so I actually have like 4 or 5 things that I do regularly, 5 things to be exact. And I've kind of perfected them over time. And I used to use them when I would sit down. Well, I still use them when I sit down to look at cases. So like if I have 30 cases that day or 50 cases that day, then I kind of prepare myself so that I can really make sure that I'm giving the best of myself that I can. And I
Awesome.
do the same thing with coaching or really any time that I interact with another person and I want to make make something great come out of that.
Mhm.
And so I it's really important that you are alert but calm.
You're right. You're right.
And you don't want to be on the spectrum of like jittery, crazy, like not able
Right.
to really focus, because that's the other important thing is that you're grounded, calm, alert, but focused.
Right, right, right. Love that.
So the 5 things that I do are: one, sleep. I make sure that my sleep is completely optimized.
Yeah.
So that means, making sure that I'm going to bed at the same time, I'm waking up at the same time. If I'm waking up in the middle of the night, I have some tricks that I try to do to kind of make myself relax and go back to sleep.
Mhm.
And as you know more than anybody else, sleep is just such an amazing time for your brain to just
Right,
kind of recover and grow. And so I
right.
really
Yeah.
think that sleep, number one, is the biggest thing. So sleep. Number two, eating. And it's very specific, is that if I am going to be on a call with someone or meet in person with someone, hopefully someday,
Mhm.
I make sure that I am either in a fasted state or that I'm eating a basically like a ketogenic diet. And the reason why is because I find that if I have something that is high carb, then it lowers my brain, my mental acuity, and it makes me sluggish. And I really don't want to be in that situation when I'm trying to help somebody.
Mhm.
So that's another trick that I've learned over the years.
Gotcha.
And actually, I do that most days. I don't really eat my carbs until I get home for dinner, and then I can know that I can kind of relax and enjoy that postprandial state.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
so there's sleep,
yeah.
there's eating, there's moving. So I really try to move before I settle down and have conversation with someone. And it's not any movement, although any movement is great, as you know. It's very specific for me because I'm really trying to get myself to kind of slip into the zone of focus and learning. And so what I actually have been starting to do, it's sort of a new activity for me, is jumping rope.
Oh, cool.
And
Mhm.
the reason why it's so great is because when you're jumping rope and you're even, I guess, even if you're good at it, you really have to focus on what you're doing
It's
in
true. A
order to
lot of moving parts, right?
no, right? And so I've been following these women on Instagram who do all the tricks.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Like I pick one trick and I try to like focus on
Mm.
learning the trick. And then afterwards, of course, like I have the benefit of having moved around, but I also have my mind has started to focus in.
Yeah.
And it usually only takes 3 to 5 minutes for me to start getting into that zone, really. So
Mhm.
that's the trick.
That's a
And
good
then oh, well, I usually give myself an intentional prayer beforehand.
yeah.
Any kind of, anything that kind of centers you and helps you to tell yourself like, okay, so please help me to help this person, or um, whatever anyone, I'm Catholic, so it's usually kind of a prayer, but sometimes it's not. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
very helpful. So, and then the last thing is breathing.
nice.
So, like I talked about in the beginning, you might be a little bit too like overreactive, you might be a little sluggish. And I find that specific breathing patterns help you either increase or decrease your autonomic system.
Right. I know, you can yeah, you can just manipulate it. I love it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
so
it's so
smart.
great. I
Yeah.
mean, that's really one of the best ways for you, fastest ways for you to change that. And so I have a couple of techniques that I use to either up me or bring me down. So
Mhm.
So those
Smart.
are the 5 things that I try to focus on. So there's sleep, there's eating, there is,
Movement, movement.
movement, and then there's the intention, and then lastly, breathing.
Just
So
breathing.
that's
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so what I'm hearing is you're always growing, you're not done. Like sometimes we think we're done and we should be really happy, but we're actually happy when we're interacting. Like you said, if you say yes, it opens your world to new things and it's so exciting and it keeps our brain, stimulated and distracted from our worry or anxiety, which is really wonderful, and it just acknowledges that we're trying to optimize the brain, which is it likes to learn our whole life. So I think that's why some people just don't feel happy. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, obviously, in work and working professionals and working women. Like you said, have a lot of hats that they wear. But yeah, so easy steps to optimize your performance coming from a high level athlete. So that's always something I think is that we should think about brain optimization like high performance athletes do, because they do know how to optimize brain and their physical performance through their brain power. So I think as professional people, we should also just tap into that, right? Yeah. So,
yeah.
yeah, so She Is Money. How can people find you, Dr. Moore?
Right now, I am on both Facebook and Instagram.
Nice.
Facebook, it's at She Is Money, no periods, no dashes. And
Okay,
on Instagram, it's she.is.money. So
gotcha.
that's the best place to find me right now. I'm
Yeah.
really trying to build that audience. So anybody who feels like this, what I said resonates with you, please come and join us. And there's a place for you to be able to get on our newsletter, and you'll be able to know when we launch our next product.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all your tips and tools.
thank you.
I appreciate it. Stay well.